Hey guys, FURAI here, and today I'm going to be testing the Chevrolet Corvette C7R in its multiplayer season in Asphalt 9 at Golden Max. Please give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and enjoy the video. This car also has a Grand Prix going on right now, so I'll be talking a little bit about that as well. So this car came out in the American Season Update, and it is basically like a second FURAI, because top speed and acceleration are very similar. However, on the FURAI, the handling is better, and on the C7R, the nitro is better. So I have a feeling that it might be a toss-up between these two cars on some tracks where the FURAI is still pretty much the king. Now, I know on most tracks, the TVR Griffith is the overall king, and so that's why I'm really not too worried if I don't manage to get this car, because I actually might not. The thing is, in this Grand Prix, for whatever reason, I just have found this car to be ridiculously difficult to drive at 1 star, and I haven't been getting very good positions no matter how much I have tried in the final rounds. Now, the thing is, I have my FURAI at max and my TVR Griffith at Golden Max, so not getting this car wouldn't really do much to me, and I think it would be a lot better to save my tokens for something more worthwhile. Like, I am currently about halfway to 3-starring my Tuatara, and although I think I'll be able to get quite a few more blueprints for it in its special event, I want to have enough tokens so that I can pretty much be guaranteed to 3-star that car. Because what I might do is make like a 3-star comparison video between that and the Yesco. I know it won't be at max, but the cars are so fast anyway that I think it will still be decent. And the fact that most people probably will get these cars around those stars and not at max. So we come in first in that race with a weird occurrence at the beginning where it seemed like another Corvette should have knocked me down, but I knocked him down instead. It was a little bit weird, but it was a close one. In fact, all of the races in this video are pretty intense. I always try to pick some of the most entertaining ones because no one wants to see a video where I either just get way far ahead or way far behind. I mean, then you already know who's going to win pretty much like 30 seconds into the race. And so these ones that have constant back and forth throughout the races, these are the ones that I like to show because they're always the ones that I had the most fun playing. And so I figured that for other avid Asphalt players, they would be some of the ones that you would find most fun to watch. So this car improves significantly from stock to Max Pro, at least in terms of how it drives. The car is almost unbearable to drive in its Grand Prix. I mean, not exactly to the extent as, say, a 1-star TVR Griffith or something like that, but it's just not very good, and I feel like they haven't given it the best tracks. Like, the first one in the Grand Prix was Tunnel Jam, which is actually one of my least favorite San Francisco tracks, period, but with this car at 1 star and having poor nitro efficiency, it was even less fun. Then we got Pudong Rise, though, which was a bit better, but the point is that if you get this car at a low star count, it's not going to be nearly as good as if you get it at a high star count. And here, this guy flies around the corner at the last second, and we cross the finish line literally right next to each other, and I come in second place, although just 1 frame behind him. Given that this car is so similar to the FURAI, and given that most players who will be going for this car probably already have the FURAI at max stars, I'm not entirely sure if this one is really worth it to go for, if you have to spend more than, say, a few thousand tokens on it, because of course, if you're able to win it at 1 star, yes, go for it. I mean, you don't have to spend any tokens on it at that point, and a free car is always a great thing. But if you'll have to start up to like 3, 4, or 5 stars or something like that in its Grand Prix in order to win it, I feel like for most people, your tokens will be better off either spent on the Tuatara or saved for some better upcoming cars, like the McLaren F1 LM, which is quite likely to be a new king of Class B, and definitely the fastest car in its class. I have no idea when that will be coming, though. It was put into the game a few updates back. It's been mostly hidden, although you can see it in the garage in some places, but Gameloft has said basically nothing publicly about it. It sort of reminds me of the Genti, which was added to the game and then only turned up in the Yesco special event like 6 months later, and even then not many people managed to get it because it was very late in the event, and the Syndicate coins at that point were running scarce, then you guys know all that story. So we come in first here, very close race. Again, the reason why I show the leaderboard at the end of the race is not so I can see what cars they are, because they're all the same in this season, but in the season ones like this, where it's max free try, I do that to show the names of the players that I am facing. One thing that I don't particularly like about the new end of multiplayer UI is that you can't actually tell specifically which clubs people are in, because, say, for example, Legions United, we have 2 clubs with the decal. Well, you can't see which club they are in at the end of the race. And I mean, since there are only so many different combinations of logos that people can get for their clubs, there could be multiple clubs that have the same logo and people could get confused because of that. I feel like it would be better if there was a way to see that, although I know it's really not all that important in the long run of the game. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the new things that have been told about in the Suggestions Official Answers channel of the official Asphalt 9 Discord, which I do link in the description of my videos. First of all, there are some changes coming soon, more changes to the multiplayer series in the coming updates. Don't know exactly when that will be, but the new knockdown system that Gameloft tested previously at the beginning of this season, and the one that people didn't like instantly knocking anybody down if you had shockwave and stuff like that, that is now gone forever, and I'm very glad about that because the old knockdown system was definitely better. The only thing I really liked about the new system was that you could no longer get 360'd if you were also 360, which I thought was actually a pretty good change, and I kind of wish they would bring that back, but nothing else, please. That race back there was probably one of the closest ones I played in the season, having passed that guy at the very end of the race only because he did a 360 on the final ramp and I just went straight up. And the reason why I stayed a little bit behind and only passed him toward the end there instead of doing it earlier was I didn't want to get right up next to him and risk being 360'd, because coming up near the end of the race, somebody is passing you. I mean, there's a pretty good chance you're going to get 360'd if you don't watch out. So I did that and it paid off. Also, I would like to mention that after a bit of a hiatus from streaming due to being busy, I will most likely be doing a stream on this Saturday, so stay tuned for that. I'll try to get to Legend League before then because it is not rush season anymore, so I can do that, and Go Slipstream season is one of my very favorite kinds of multiplayer seasons that we have had. I know that not everyone shares that opinion, but I just find it to be extremely fun not having to worry about knockdowns or getting pushed, and the Slipstream makes it a lot nicer to use high top speed cars. So if I 3-star the Tuatar, I might test it in that season, or any other top speed cars, like I might do the Zenvo or something. I don't know if I tested my Zenvo after I got it, because I know I did it at max, but yeah, I'm trying to do those cars that I tested at max if I got them at the stars that I got them at, and I just recently 3-starred that as well. So we're coming up to the end of the race with this other Corvette just right behind me, and I found this season to be pretty fun overall too. I think the highest point I got to was like 31 on the leaderboard, except for the time at the very beginning in which I played one race and got the top 1 on the leaderboard, and I made a video about that that was pretty much supposed to be a joke. I know some people in the comments didn't get that. Obviously, I wasn't actually trying to brag about that being a top 1. I mean, you saw that the race was extremely easy and everything. If I make a video with a very different sort of description and title than I usually make, which that one definitely had, it is usually going to be a sort of joke or something like that. So I wasn't able to go up this barrel roll high enough to get on top of the building, and it turns out that that would sort of come back to haunt me because someone else does, and he lands directly on top of me and knocks me down, putting me back into 4th place. But we're only a third of the way through the race, you know, there's no point in leaving so early on, especially if you're not that far behind everyone else in the race, which I am certainly not. And I'm starting to catch up to them, and everybody else pretty much goes to the left, and I know that going to the right is faster, so I do this and jump up here, and then I come into 2nd place, and just 2/3 of the race, so like 20 seconds after being knocked down. And so I wanted to see if I'd be able to cross this guy at the end. I think he goes a bit high on the barrel, lands just in front of me. He very well could have knocked me down again, but thankfully he did not, and we're able to get ahead of him as he goes a little bit high on that barrel back there too again. I was afraid he would pass me at the very end here because I made a little mistake hitting the wall, but thankfully we were able to come in first. Our next race is on one of the shortest 90-second tracks in the game, Shen City, which I can usually complete with a car such as this one in about 50 or so seconds. And now it is time for my general review about this car. It's really not a bad car at max. It's one of the top D-class cars, so if you are able to get this car at max, rest assured that it will do pretty well for you in events. It's not going to be stellar. It's not going to be the new king because it is about the same as the Mazda FURAI in terms of overall overall performance, and the TVR Griffith is still going to beat it in most cases. It's got good acceleration for its class though, 199 miles per hour top speed, which is not bad at all, although again quite a far cry from the TVR Griffith. Its handling is worse than the FURAI, but its acceleration is better, so depending on which of those stats you prefer, you may either like this one or that one better. One thing they have in common though is they do lose quite a bit of speed, it seems, across areas that are rough terrain such as sidewalks, so be sure to keep that in mind when you're driving it in Grand Prix or in events if you get the car. And we take the victory in this final race. Thank you all for watching, please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!